I don't hear anything.
Hey, welcome everybody. Appreciate everybody hopping on this call today. It's a little chilly, so might as well just cozy up with something for lunch or a hot cup of something and be together. Um, Megan, are you ready for me to get started?
We're ready.
Okay, awesome. Well, good afternoon, everyone. So glad you're here. I am Abby Garrison. I'm our Vice President of Community Investments here at United Way of Greater Chattanooga. And we're just so excited and appreciate you guys taking the time to come learn more about our upcoming community investment cycle. We're really hoping today to just, you know, give you guys clear guidance, answer any questions you might have, and just really hope that you'll leave here feeling a bit more confident about the grant application process this year. So, before we go any further, I want to introduce the rest of our team. And also, there are some, for those of you who just joined, Megan put some housekeeping notes in the chat. I think it tells you this, but we are being recorded. And then we're also going to feel free to put questions in the chat, but because we are recording this and going to put this on the website potentially, going to put all the Q&A at the end just for the interest of conciseness and consistency. Okay, so see if I can get this to advance. Oh, went too far. Wanted to just quickly introduce our team. I think most of y'all know us, but just in case not, this is the community investments team. So the various folks who you will be interacting with in the coming months as we go through our grant process. So Megan Creasy, you'll hear from her today. She's our Director of Strategic Partnerships, oversees lots of things, including our grant making. And then Maggie Sparks, she is our Community Investments Manager. Many of y'all probably have interacted with her over the years, either through 211 or in her current role. But you'll also hear from her here in a bit. And then Jess Gawley is our CI assistant. She just kind of keeps everything running for us and also a great resource for questions and anything you need from our team. So that's the four of us. You will be hearing from all of us today and or in the coming months, but just wanted to make sure you had faces for names from our team. Okay, so here is what we are going to cover today. We're already doing the first part. I'm going to walk you guys through our impact agenda and kind of big picture, our priorities. We'll talk a little bit about the two funding streams that we have open for applications, the Catalyst and Bridge funds. Megan is going to walk you guys through eligibility and kind of what's available in different geographies. And then Maggie is going to walk us through the LOI process, the actual application, show you a sneak peek of Foundant, which is our grant application system, the portal itself. And then we'll, like I said, open it up for Q&A and next steps. So again, just hoping that you leave here with lots of questions that you have answered. Okay, so a little bit about United Way of Greater Chattanooga. Many of y'all know us, but given that this is an open process, we recognize there might be some folks on the call who aren't as familiar with United Way. And so really just wanted to take a moment and share our mission, vision, values, focus with you guys. It's always good to see these things in writing and just make sure that we all understand what we're here for. The thing that has always been true for United Way is that we exist to connect people and resources, right? Like we are all about connecting the resources in our community to great causes, to great individuals. needing assistance. So that holds true and has held true for basically over a century now. So we celebrated our 100-year anniversary in 2022. Is that right? Yeah, 2022. And we are still doing that today. I want to tell you a little bit more about our impact agenda. So mission, vision, values, kind of big picture, guides our whole organization. The impact agenda is a little bit more specific around what impact is the United Way of Greater Chattanooga looking to have in our community, right? And so for those of y'all who are familiar with United Ways, you know that we are each individual 501c3s. We're part of this bigger network, but every United Way might do things slightly differently. And so, we have a lot of other United Ways just here in our region that you might interact with, United Way the Ocoee or Ray County or the one in Dalton. We all have common themes, but we also might have slightly different impact agendas. And so for us, our 2030 impact agenda is really what guides the work and in particular our investments. And so I want to share a little bit more about that framework. So our impact agenda is really divided into kind of 3 pillars, but I don't even know if that's the right way to think of it because they're so interrelated, right? And so for us, it's all about children, families, and connected community. And you can read all the detail behind all of this through our actual written impact agenda. I would encourage you to do that. But if I were going to sum it up, it would be that we know that investing in children is the way to kind of change trajectories for our community. And so children grow up in families and families live in community, right? And so for us, we try to invest in all 3 of those interconnected priorities. Within that, we have a couple of kind of points of view on how to make those investments and the types of programs that we're looking to invest in. So the first one would be that we really want to invest in 2-generational approaches. So again, going back to that children, families, community piece, we think it's really important to address children and their caregivers and the kind of network of support that's around them at the same time. So prioritizing organizations that take a 2-gen approach. We also have invested really heavily in better understanding financial hardship in our community. And we've done that through what we call the ALICE framework. So that stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail and have a whole body of research behind that if you're interested in learning more. And then lastly, feel like it's really important to invest in a collaborative approach. We don't think that any of this can be done in a silo, and very much hope that you think the same, right? Really want to invest in organizations and programs and initiatives that take a collaborative approach to the work. Okay, so a little bit more about ALICE, as promised. And Jess is going to put a little bit more information in the chat as well. So when we say ALICE, it's that acronym that I just mentioned. And essentially, what that means is that it's families who have no safety net, right? They're asset limited. So when a curveball comes toward this family, they really don't have much to fall back on financially, and sometimes even socially, kind of bigger picture safety net. The income constrained piece essentially just means, exactly what it says. There's just not enough income to meet the expenses of that household. And then employed. So we know that the majority of households that are struggling actually are employed, right? They're working sometimes 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. And we want to provide solutions that work for those families. The key to understanding ALICE from your perspective, from a partner standpoint, is knowing that identifying like what the source of income is for that family is key. So it's very hard to calculate ALICE if you don't have a sense for what the income situation is for a household. And please know that ALICE is a threshold, and so it includes families who are below that threshold, which does include families in poverty, right? But we are trying to expand the understanding of financial hardship in our community to beyond poverty. But it does include families in poverty. Okay, a little bit more about 2Gen, which we already, mentioned and said was a top priority of our investments. So hopefully some of y'all were able to join us last month for the webinar that we did, the 2Gen webinar we did with the senior program lead from Ascend at the Aspen Institute. If you did not, that is linked, or will be by Friday if it's not already, on our website. It's a great listen. It's a great body of research if you're wondering more about what is a 2Gen approach, what does programming look like that takes a 2Gen approach. Ascend is kind of they are the national leader in 2Gen work, and it was really important for us to bring them to town, even if virtually, for us all to learn a little bit more about that. But at its core, 2Gen basically supports both the caregivers and the children in coordinated, connected ways. It might look like pairing early childhood services and family coaching, or it could be combining emergency assistance with navigation support so that families have a path beyond the immediate crisis. You can certainly get creative with it, but the idea is just to really think more holistically about the services and that we're providing to families. Very specifically, as it relates to our grant making, I want to be very clear that for the Catalyst Fund, a 2Gen approach is required. So you're going to have to include your 2Gen framework in your application to the Catalyst Fund. For the Bridge Fund, it's not mandatory. We understand, and again, we'll get into all these details with the two funds. Bridge Fund is much more about immediate needs for households in crisis. A 2Gen approach is probably not necessarily appropriate when what you're doing is feeding families, feeding a household right now. So just know that most of the 2Gen, the 2Gen approach that we're thinking about applies to the Catalyst Fund today. It could certainly strengthen a bridge application. I'm not saying, don't include it, but it's not required. Okay. So I want to give you guys a quick snapshot into our kind of fund structure here at United Way so that you understand the big picture of where the dollars are going that come in through campaign and the investments that we're making. So some of y'all might know that in addition to the Bridge and Catalyst Fund, we also invest in a third fund that's called our Impact Fund. That's a multi-year commitment that is not open this year. So we had Impact Fund applications open last year, and that's a 3-year commitment that we made to those 19 nonprofits to go through a kind of really intense impact cohort, multi-year commitment on our part, but also a lot bigger commitment on their part as well. Those dollars are already committed. It's $2.2 million of our campaign dollars that come in are committed for this year going to the Impact Fund partners. So those are kind of off the table, if you will. They are going to the community, but they're already committed, and there is not a grant application open for the Impact Fund. That brings us to our two funds that are open. The two funds that are open for this cycle coming up in January are the Bridge and the Catalyst Fund. So those were both open last year. They're both open again this year. They're both 1-year commitments from us. And I also, again, in the interest of transparency, want to let you know it is a competitive process. We anticipate it'll be possibly even more competitive this year than last, just because Impact Fund isn't open. And so we just know that there's going to be a lot of organizations applying to the Catalyst and the Bridge funds. For reference, Last year, 99 organizations requested funding from us, 55 were funded. That includes the impact fund, right? So if you're just talking Catalyst and Bridge, it's 36 organizations. I'm sharing this not to discourage you, like seriously, but I do want to set expectations and just emphasize, like clarity, alignment, strong outcomes, all those things in your proposal really do matter, and hope that you will, put your best foot forward, as I know you guys always do. You all know that we raise these dollars every year from the community. They come into us in the form of literally, the kind of classic United Way donor is the dollar a week out of their paycheck. So the $52 donor that trusts us to put the dollars back out into the community to their neighbors. And so we are just wanting to be really transparent and really clear about the funding opportunities that are available, and encourage you to apply, but also just want you to be realistic around, as you're planning your budget going into this next year. So with that, I want to hand it off to Megan to give a little bit more detail about each of the funding opportunities that are available.
Awesome, Abby. Thank you so much. Once again, Megan Creasy, Director of Strategic Partnerships here at the United Way of Greater Chattanooga. Just to walk you through our grant making process. Our process is designed to be community led. Each proposal goes through the same exact process. And so that is our LOI, looking at eligibility and alignment, the full application, our incredible volunteer reviewers that go through each proposal. And then everything gets handed off to our Community Investments Committee and they package it, make recommendations, and get that over to our Board of Directors before final approval, and those grant award announcements go out. Just to remind everybody, all of our decisions are grounded in that alignment with our 2030 impact agenda, as well as the needs of our LS households with children. So just a quick snapshot of the process. Moving on to eligibility at a glance. These are the baseline conditions in which an organization must meet in order to get all the way through our LOI process. We have an entire list of eligibility, much longer than this, in our grant application guidelines, which Jess will be dropping in the chat. I highly encourage you to read every single word from our grant application guidelines for 2026-2027 investments. Moving on to geographical eligibility. For Hamilton County, you all are eligible to apply to both Catalyst and Bridge. As Abby mentioned, our current impact fund partners, that multi-year fund, you all are only eligible to apply for bridge funds in this grant cycle. For our North Georgia friends, that's Catoosa, Dade, and Walker counties, we are encouraging, if you would like to apply for both funds, you're more than welcome to. But please note that you would only be awarded one fund per organization. So please, 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 as you're going through this process, please try to align your time and effort with the fund that most aligns with your work, as well as the 2030 impact agenda. We recognize that there's been a lot of changes and kind of honestly question marks up in the air for our North Georgia friends. As a reminder, the United Way, where we raise the dollars, is where we're able to invest and deploy the dollars. So this time last year, we did not even know if there would be dollars to give away in North Georgia for this cycle. And we're happy to report that there is, which is great for this economic climate. With that being said, please, please, please just be mindful for your time and which fund you're going to be really and truly going after for our North Georgia friends. Alrighty, without further ado, kind of breaking a little bit more details down for our Catalyst Fund and our Bridge Fund for this current cycle. So, our Catalyst Fund is all about accelerating impact through innovation and collaboration. This fund supports programs that are pursuing new ideas, expanding what works, or piloting creative solutions that you know will drive meaningful outcomes for Alice households with children. As Abby mentioned, these investments are 1 year in length, and they are specifically focused on innovation around two generational approaches. As you can see on the slide, there are some examples of different types of innovation that we're looking to fund, whether that be new programs or new components of programs, scaling or expansion of programs, pilot projects, emerging ideas, or collaborative initiatives. While collaboration isn't required, it is prioritized. So this year, applications with formalized partnerships, such as a Memorandum of Understanding, otherwise known as an MOU or a partner agreement, um, we know that having that type of agreement in place, especially at the time of applying for the grant, helps with more clear roles, stronger accountability, and ultimately better outcomes for our families. So, in your application for this grant cycle, you will have the opportunity to upload those partner agreements or memorandum of understandings, proving that collaboration is already in place. The bottom line is that our Catalyst Fund supports bold ideas, thoughtful expansion, or creative partnerships, all centered on the whole family approach. Now, while Catalyst focuses on innovation and long-term solutions, the Bridge Fund meets a very different but equally essential need. Our Bridge Fund exists to meet urgent, immediate needs, making sure individuals and families can access stabilizing supports quickly and with dignity. This fund is also a 1 year fund. Bridge Fund programs can include anything around emergency direct assistance, such as food, housing, healthcare, transportation, childcare, disaster relief, anything in the emergency direct assistance world. What would define a strong bridge application is not just the assistance itself, but really the continuity of care behind it. Here are some of the priorities that we are looking to fund through our Bridge Fund. As you can see on the slide, the 211 closed loop referral partners. Jess is going to drop in the chat more information if you are curious about becoming a 211 closed loop referral partner. We're also looking specifically at programs that are staffed by trained professionals, whether that be case managers, social workers, family advocates, whatever that looks like. We're looking at programs that have strong linkage to wrap around supports beyond the immediate assistance, as well as the ability to support community-wide emergency response in coordination with United Way of Greater Chattanooga. The Bridge Fund is a part of a crucial safety net in our community, and we want partners that can meet the urgent needs while also staying focused on stabilizing families for the future. So this kind of gives you a big overview of both funds, our Catalyst as well as our Bridge funds. Here's a quick snapshot of a little bit more of that breakdown. For this cycle, the max request for both funds is going to be $50,000. As you can see below there, just to give some extra context, last year's average award in each bucket. Also the breakdown around our two generational focus, the Alice focus, and collaboration. Something to mention, for our Bridge Fund, we do want direct dollars going to neighbors in need, but that does not mean that you cannot That does not mean that you shouldn't also take into account that we're offering up to 15% for indirect and administrative costs, specifically only for Bridge Fund. Everybody's favorite part, introducing our impact measurement framework. We have three areas in our impact measurement framework. As you can see, opportunities for all children, economic mobility for families, and a more connected community. Under each priority area, there are impact goals. So as you can see, we have 13 impact goals across the entire framework. Thank you, Jess, for dropping those links in the chat. This is also on our website. Each of our funded partners are required to report on outcomes connected to our 2030 impact agenda, specifically this impact measurement framework. In your LOI, which Maggie will get to here shortly, you will have the opportunity to select your impact priority. And it's going to be one of these three buckets: the opportunities for all children, economic mobility, or a more connected community. And then in your full application is where you're going to decide and tell us which one or two impact goals that you are selecting to report on. Let's look at an example together. Here is our frame for the economic mobility. You can see here that we have impact goal 1, job readiness. Pretend that I am a Catalyst applicant, and my organization is all about job readiness, helping with coaching and training for job skills and career coaching. Through the Catalyst application, I've also partnered with, I'm collaborating with an early learning program of another organization that's offering childcare while I'm doing all of the programming for adults around job readiness, skills assessments, things of that nature. I would go into the LOI and I would select economic mobility as my impact area. And then in my application, I am going to specifically select impact goal 1, job readiness, because I am committing to reporting on this line of family indicators, the O1, which is outputs, number of individuals served who received job skills training, short-term outcome, O1, number of individuals served who report improved job readiness. And then that intermediate outcome, O1, number of individuals served who secure and or maintain gainful employment. This is a lot to take in around our impact measurement framework, especially if you've never seen it before. We are offering, through the LOI process, virtual office hours where you all are more than welcome and encouraged, actually, to pop in, have a conversation with myself or Maggie around the LOI process, especially Foundant, if you have any questions, but we can definitely continue this conversation around our impact measurement framework. Once again, all of this is on our website, so I highly encourage you, take a look at it, read through everything in the LOI, and really decide what works best for you. To close us out in this section, here are some things that we're not able to fund. Once again, this is all in our application guidelines, but these are the type of things that we will not be funding. And so please keep these in mind as you are writing your proposals. Next, I am going to kick it over to Maggie to walk us through what you can kind of expect through the LOI and application process, as well as a look at our Foundant system.
Thanks, Megan. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, carving out an hour to learn more about our grants and make sure that you're fully informed. We appreciate that effort. Okay, so just kind of high-level overview of what to expect in the LOI first. obviously just LOI intention is to figure out alignment and eligibility. So you will see, and I'm going to pull up in Foundant just what the LOI looks like. We can look at it more closely, but ensuring that you meet all of the eligibility requirements. And we are doing something different this year where the financial review will occur in the LOI. So if there we'll be asking for all of those financial documents, audits, budget, actuals versus budget, things like that, to ensure that there's financial stability in the organization before we move forward to the application. So our volunteer grant reviewers who review the financial piece, our CPAs and CFOs, they will be reviewing you guys' financial documents in the LOI stage. High level alignment to Alice households with children, early indicators of 2GEN or emergency assistance approach. So you'll obviously give your program or project proposal and ensuring that those components are baked into your request. And then your collaboration intent. And then if you move forward to the application, so after the LOI closes on January 30th, our team will take like 4 days to do those financial reviews and make sure that the alignment and eligibility are there. And then we will let you know if you move to the next round. So you'll be notified either way. And if you do apply for both Bridge and Catalyst, you may only be moved forward for one of those, maybe both. It totally depends. And your application will reflect which one you've been approved for. So in the application, it's just a deeper dive into those initial questions in the LOI. Program description, we will ask for the data strategy, and part of that is the impact measurement framework. You will select those outcomes, those impact goals that Megan was talking about, and we'll look at that in Foundant as well. So hopefully that can kind of give a better picture or just expanded picture of what to expect. Expanding on 2GEN, emergency assistance approach, and then the option to upload MOUs if you have that, and then demographics, things like that. So a little more data heavy. And yeah. All right, I'm going to share my screen now and show Foundant. Okay. All right, can y'all see? Thumbs up?
Yes,
Yep.
looks good.
Okay, great. Thanks. All righty. So this is our, actually, let me go here first. Let me take it all the way back to the United Way website. So you're going to go to the United Way website, and under our work, you'll click the Community Investments tab. And we have made the link available already. So you can go in and set up an account or look at your history if you choose to. Like, this is open all year round because this is where all current grant recipients are reporting and doing things like that. So we have moved to Foundant last year. I know some of you, probably a lot of you, used it for the application last year. You can go in and see the details of last year's application, things like that, update, contact information. But if you're a new applicant, it also lives here. And yeah, so it will take you to this page. And this is an important distinction. If your organization has applied through Foundant to the United Way before, so last year, but you yourself were not the one applying, you will not choose create new account. That is only if you are setting up a new profile for an organization who has never applied before. So let me just say that again. I don't think I made that 100% clear. If you are a new organization applying, you will come in and press create new account. If you are an organization who has applied before, you will log on with your credentials that you set up last year. If you do not have credentials yourself, you'll need to reach out to our team and we will add you on the back end attached to the organization that you are at. So the organization profile already exists. We just need to add you. And of course, if you have any trouble, just let me know. But the create new account is going to ask like tax ID, if you're an executive officer, all kinds of information like that. So we want to ensure that there's only one profile for every single organization, because if there are repeats, then that will be confusing and you'll have multiple profiles, and we definitely want to avoid that. Okay. So once you log in, if you have applied before, this is kind of what it will look like. This is what your dashboard looks like. For those of you who applied last year, you'll see either a box here under no action. Wait, can y'all see this? No, you can. Okay, sorry. I just realized it's not like, okay. Um, you'll see a box under no action or completed or historical. And you'll go to see opportunities here. And this, if you've never applied before, this is the home screen that you will see. You'll see there is a box for last year's, it's closed, obviously. And then there's a box for the upcoming one. And obviously, this won't be available yet. This is just in our sandbox site, but come January 12th, it will be available. So there's like a little bit of information in here about the dates. Yeah, press apply. I already started one. Okay, so here's the LOI, and this is the eligibility question. So you won't be able to move forward in the LOI unless you're able to select all of these boxes. And I just want to say, if you're not able to select all of the boxes, that is okay. You are offering amazing things to our community, and we're grateful for the work that you're doing. It just doesn't mean that you're aligned to the United Way right now, and or don't meet the eligibility requirements as of now. Maybe that's a future alignment, but just if you have questions about it, feel free to reach out. But this is the baseline expectations of who you need to be in order to apply for the grants. So I'm just going to check all of them so that the branching starts. This is very exciting to watch me click these. Okay. So you will enter your organization details. This is all, basic information. We need your 501c3, Form 990. This is where you will upload your financial documents. And this year, you're able to provide optional financial context. So if there's things on your budget or that have changed, because lots of things have changed in 2025 for many of the organizations on this call, whether it be federal funding, things like that. Please provide context that helps us to know, in our financial reviewers to know what's happening if there are questionable things or whatever. I think that's a good option. Okay, and then the letter of intent. So this is where you'll choose which grant you're applying for. You can click one or both. It will branch based on that. You do need to select the county in which you are applying for services. So this is one county for both Bridge and Catalyst. So you cannot apply for Catalyst in Hamilton County and Bridge in Walker County. You'll need to apply for just one county for both funds. And this is where the majority of your beneficiaries reside. So if you're in North Georgia and you serve all three counties, just pick the one where the majority live. Okay, Bridge Fund priorities. You'll need to select that you understand the priorities, but this is just basic program project description, excuse me, and general questions surrounding Bridge. I'm not going to go into all of those. We'll need obviously the amount requested, how much of that amount covers the project budget, so percentage of the project budget, and how much covers the percentage of your total operating budget. Okay, so for Catalyst, in Bridge, you will not be selecting those impact priorities, opportunities for all children, economic mobility for families, or a more connected community. We did that last year, and we're not doing that this year. So Bridge is just more emergency assistance focused. We're not making you choose a category. Catalyst is where you will choose your impact priority. So that's here. And there are some resources here. This may change by January, but the impact agenda is linked here. I have it pulled up here, but this is going to give you a really good overview of each of the impact priorities, where you fit, what makes the most sense for your program. It doesn't mean your organization as a whole. It's just the program that you're applying with, where it fits. So you'll choose that here. Uh-oh, wrong page. And we'll just go for opportunities for all children, for example. Same kind of questions as Bridge. You'll just have general kind of questions related to Catalyst, same financial questions. And then below is where you will choose your impact goals. So this is, let me pull up the impact framework so that you guys can see this next to each other. So this is what I'm going to recommend you all do when you're filling this out, is pull up the, can you guys see them side by side? Just want to make sure. Okay, great. Recommendation is to pull up whichever framework you are applying under, so Opportunities for All Children, and look at the impact goals. So the impact goals are this red font at the top of each page. This is what Megan was showing before. You will pick one or two, and you do need to be able to report on at least one output and at least one short-term outcome. That's listed in here too. Select 1 to 2 impact goals. You must be able to report on at least one output and one short-term outcome. We are not asking for intermediate outcomes unless you are able to report on those in end of year reporting, but that is not required for Bridge and Catalyst. That's only necessarily for impact cohort at this point because it is a longer term financial commitment. So focus on the outputs and the short-term outcomes. Pick the impact goal in which you can report on at least one output and one short-term outcome. Hope that makes sense. And we'll be available to answer questions in the office hours. That's the perfect time to come with questions about outputs and outcomes. I know that we did that last year a lot, and that was what the majority of the questions were about. So we're trying to make it a little bit clearer, but we understand that there will be questions. Okay, so you can save the LOI for later. Like you don't have to fill this all out at once. You have that January 12th to January 30th to fill this out. Once you're done, you'll hit submit and then you'll receive an email saying like, we received your LOI. You'll hear from us at the latest by February 6th. Is that right? Okay. Friday, February 6th on a decision. You may hear from us earlier, but by February 6th at the latest. So then moving into the application, it's just a deeper dive into those questions that we asked in the LOI. One thing I want to note is that there are some questions in here. So you'll see I'm getting that like, no, you cannot touch this question. That's because this is going to pull from the LOI based on what you were approved for. So it's going to show you'll know in advance, we will communicate this to you like, oh, you were approved to move on in your Catalyst, but not your Bridge. But in here, that will reflect that. So you'll only be able to fill out, it will branch based on only what you were approved for. And then we'll need you to re-implement the amounts that you're requesting. This shouldn't change unless you communicated with one of us. Okay, and then Bridge questions. This is obviously more data focused, as I mentioned that, just diving in deeper. And then Catalyst, also diving in here. This is going to auto-populate based on which impact priority you chose in the LOI. So that's going to carry over too. It's just a read-only field. Here's an opportunity to upload your MOU or partner agreement. And then this is also read-only. This is the impact goals that you selected in the LOI. And you will have the option, not the option, it is. You will fill out the way that you plan to collect that information, that data. So we just want to know what your data collection strategy is, so that we can, know that you're doing the work that you say you're doing. And then same here, application, you can save it and come back to it or submit it when you're done. I believe that's it for Foundant. Let me just make sure. I think so. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and let you share, Abby. Okay, great. So here is the timeline. I mentioned some of these, but important dates, obviously LOI opens on January 12th. You'll have until the 30th to fill that out.
46 p.m.
Oh, Um, it will go until January 30th, and then we will have office hours throughout. There will be 3 opportunities for office hours from 11 a.m. to noon. They'll be on Tuesdays during the LOI, so January 13th, January 20th, and January 27th. We've got the Zoom link for that, so it's just you don't have to register, but I would recommend maybe putting it on your calendar with the Zoom link embedded in the calendar, just so it's on your calendar. If you want to join, you don't have to join, but know that it's helpful. Um, and then the application will open on February 6th if you get approved to move into the application stage, and that goes through the 27th. Volunteer grant reviewing occurs in March. They have a month to review. They usually review about 5 applications, and there's a rubric that we will make available on our website. So you can see what's being asked of the reviewers as well. And those are questions about like Alice, Tujin, data collection strategy, all of those kind of priorities that we listed in this presentation. And then April and May, volunteer reviews are completed, and we take those to the Community Investments Committee, who makes recommendations to our board. The board decides, and then grant award announcements go out in June. And then this last slide is a resources and links slide. So we will be sending out this presentation on Friday, and obviously Jess has been putting the links in the chat, but we will provide them in a follow-up email. And but there's tons of information on our website. All of this will be on the website. It's not up today. We want to make this available to you guys first in this meeting, but it will be available hopefully by Friday. And Megan mentioned we're recording this call, so this will also live on the website if you want to come back and review any of this conversation or yeah. And now we can move into questions. If we've got any in the chat, you're welcome to come off of mute, or we can check the chat if there's anything in there. I'd also love to know, if you do have a question, what organization you are with too. So, yeah. Okay. Megan, do you want to close us out?
Sure. If anybody does think of something later on that you have a question about, 1 second. One question came through the chat. Are we encouraged to apply for new programming, or can we apply for the same thing we did last year? I would say that really depends on what type of fund you're trying to go after, whether that be Bridge Fund or Catalyst Fund. For Catalyst, we are looking for new, innovative expansion, pilot, some sort of new. And so I would not encourage you to apply for Catalyst if it is going to be the same request or similar request from last year. We are specifically going to ask what's new about this or innovative about this, specifically around the 2-gen approach. Also for Catalyst and Bridge, both of these funds are not for general operating support or capacity building. They're very program focused. And so keeping that in mind as well when thinking about what fund would be best to apply for. Any other questions or anything that we can even clarify?
Brandon asked something about the video. Yes, we will save this. We also have one on Thursday. So it will either be the recording from today or the recording from Thursday that will be available definitely on the website and probably in the email on Friday. But you all will get a follow-up email on Friday because you were in this session.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. All righty. We are available. Like I said, if you guys do think of anything or have any other follow-up questions, the best way to reach the entire team is going to be through our impact@uwchat.org. Would love to hear from you. And like Maggie said, we'll be sending out a follow-up email on Friday.
Megan, sorry, I did forget to mention, like when it comes to the obviously there's a lot of applicants and our time is limited, so we want to make sure that we're using everyone's time to the best of our abilities. And so if you can reserve questions for the office hours, if they're technical questions about the outputs or outcomes or things like that, that's best for us since we've set aside those hours for those kinds of questions. If there's something very specific about your programs or questions of alignment, stuff like that, feel free to reach out and we can set up a one-on-one.
Awesome. Alrighty, everybody. Thanks for being here today, and we'll chat with you soon.